There we are. Hello,
Mhm.
everyone. We are live. Welcome. I am Briar Harvey, and this is the Neurodiversity Media Network. Today, I have the fabulous Alice, and this is episode 1 of season 2. So, we are talking about momentum this season. And today we're going to unpack just some standards of measurement, guidelines, maybe some myths about momentum. And then we welcome you for feedback for this season. We'd like to address any questions that you have, leave them in the chat wherever you watch this, and we will circle back around and pick them up at the end of the season. So let's get started. Hello, Alice.
Well, hello, Briar. It's fabulous to be here, of course.
As always, I am
Mm-hmm.
delighted to have you here. So let's do this. Momentum is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yes, I do like momentum, and it's one of those things where I think that a lot of people don't understand how momentum works. They expect it to magically appear. Nothing magically appears, people. Nothing. And I also, like, as we're talking about it, I think it's important to note that, this series is around connection capital. And so this is really about how you're building momentum with your connection capital and how you can do that. And so in this first episode, we're really going to break down what momentum is and what it means, and we're really going to dive deep into that because we do have a few other episodes to go where we can dive deeper into other aspects of it. But I think a lot of people don't. I mean, I think we're familiar with the word momentum. I think it's been a buzzword for a while, right? And that's one of
Yes,
my
and
pet
that we don't
peeves.
understand it, because
Right.
if we
Yeah.
understood it, it would not be a buzzword.
Right. Well, that's anything. Like, and it does, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine because one of the things that happens when anything becomes trendy, right? It becomes a generic version of itself. The trend does, which really does make sense because for something to be trendy, it has to kind of be generic, right? It has to almost fit everything and everyone, except most things aren't really generic, right? Like, not if they're being authentic, not if they're being real. Even authentic trendy and generic for a while, right? Like, and it probably still is in a lot of cases. But in this instance, if you don't really understand it and you just have that narrowed down, trendy view of it, then you can miss a lot of things, which is why I love having this podcast with you and having these conversations because we can broaden what those things are for everybody and maybe give you a different perspective, give you something else to think about.
All right, so let's start at the top. How do we define momentum?
Well, I mean, in physics, momentum is like some kind of scientific stuff about, the object itself, the momentum, the mass, and the velocity, right? Like there's
All
all
right,
this stuff.
let's Google it.
Right.
Let's
It's it's
let's ask the
it's the
Oxford English
it's
Dictionary.
a mathematical momentum is momentum, mass, and velocity. Like that's the thing.
Not
Uh,
bad. The
yeah,
quantity of motion of a moving body measured as a product of its mass and velocity.
yeah,
Now, we're talking about this second one here. The impetus gained by a moving object. And we're talking about your business as the moving object.
yes. And here's the thing. So the momentum we're talking about is about building momentum in your life and in your business as a process of gaining and maintaining forward movement and progress towards an end result or a goal, right? Momentum can actually help you stay motivated. It can help you stay focused and productive, and it can lead to greater success and achievement. There's a lot of stuff out there that's also trendy. Things like manifesting and, law of attraction. There's all these things, and there's definitely a shady underbelly to some of those things that's very ick. Okay. But success does attract success, right? As you to gain that momentum with some successes, more successes tend to pile on top of that. I witnessed this in so many different things. For example, I take my mom and we play bingo on Sunday, and there's lots of older people. And I'm just going to tell you, there are some grumpy older people that do not like when other people win, right? They're very, like, there are some people, and those people, they don't win like ever. Like they're so, well, why can't I win? I'm going to have to stop. Like they just have this. And I just think to myself, they're just attracting all the negative. Like they're just so focused on that. Yes, it's gambling. It's a game of chance. It's odds. But the people who win tend to be the people that are happy when they win. They're happy when other people win. They don't care. Like they're there to have fun. And yeah, everybody likes to win. Okay. But I see this in life all the time, where if you're focused on the things you're not getting, you're going to get more of not getting, right? Because your brain is picking those things up. If your brain is focused on success and winning, then you're going to see success and winning, and more of it's going to come. Like I've just seen that happen over and over again. So over and over again.
One of these days, I'm really going to have to get somebody on and just do a really nice, tight series about the law of attraction. But
on the positive end of it, not well. I guess
no.
you do want to address the underbelly of it, because people need to be aware of what those problems are, right? Because it's very problematic in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Maybe I can do that in a season with Biba.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
That might be the way to go.
Yeah.
So, and I agree. The law of attraction is bullshit, and what you put out in the world has a tendency to come back to you. It's not just about the energetics of it. It's about the momentum. And when you do the things that create small, measurable changes, you you find that they compound interest over time. I'm from Omaha, so I live here in this fabulous city with Warren Buffett. One of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes is that 70% of his investments were trash. They were worthless. It was those other small things that have made him one of the richest men alive. What do we do to compound those small things?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you start small, right? Because it's not always the big things. Like if we focus on constantly taking big risks, that's 70%, you get no return on it. But if we start with smaller investments, smaller steps, something small, achievable, something easy for us to attain, and you just have to start getting the win. Like you have to start, no matter how small that is, you have to start, because momentum is forward motion, right? And it's something that builds on itself. So if you don't have a small win to start building upon, then you're not getting anywhere, right? It goes back to the idea that focus on the wins, no matter how small, no matter how tiny or insignificant it is. That mindset of any win is a good win. They're all good wins. And honestly, if you even look at some of the failures or maybe things that didn't turn out the way you thought, you can still look at that as a win because you gained experience and knowledge from it. So focus on the win, but start small, right? Take the actions. little bitty actions, right? Like a snowball. You start with a little tiny snowball, and you can eventually roll that into something massive, right?
So, one of, I think, I can't remember who coined Keystone Habits. It was one of the habit guys, but they're basically the small pivotal changes that when you look back, you can say, oh, this was the thing that started to make the difference for me. This was the one that started turning the wheel. I think the problem is that when we're sitting in it, we have a difficult time identifying what those habits are. So let's talk about how to find them, identify them, and make progress.
On the small
The
things.
small things.
Well, here's the thing. It is going to depend on, I always say that, it depends.
It
I'm
always
channeling,
depends.
it
It's fine.
always
It,
depends.
it, people don't realize.
So, because just like anything else in your life, there are certain things like I'll go, oh, that's easy, I could do that, and somebody else will look at it and go, oh gosh, that's overwhelming, right? So it depends on who you are, how you view things, and it's okay. My easy simple thing doesn't have to be easy and simple to you. It could be overwhelming, and that's totally normal. It's natural for all of us to be in a different place and have different experiences and things that we feel comfortable doing. So what you have to do is you have to figure out what is, we talk about this a lot in the Catalyst. It's the work back plan, baby. Always work back. Like, look at that big end result that you want. What is that? What's the thing that you see happening just before you reach that? And just keep working back. What's the thing that would come before that thing? What's the thing that would come before that thing? And even if you and I, for example, had the same exact goal and we did a work back plan, it might look completely different because we see how we get there differently. And that's
It's
okay.
going to look completely differently.
Right.
And also, if this is a place where you struggle, because a lot of neurodivergent folks can't look back because there's a spatial differential problem. If you know that about yourself, get help. We talk about it all the time in the Catalyst. And if you would like to join us in the Catalyst, my affiliate link is briarharvey.com/catalyst. Come get in there with us and look at how you work your way backwards, because we won't see it the same way. And there is real value, I think, in hearing how someone else is going to approach that, because it helps
Absolutely.
you define and refine your own choices, right? If you say, oh, I do it this way, my response to that is either, oh, that sounds great, or it's, oh God, that sounds terrible. No, let me do it this way instead. And all of that is information, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
It
think
is. I always think
momentum is,
collaboration makes
mhm.
everything because you get these different perspectives. And honestly, you can pick out the pieces that you like the best and just use those and throw away the rest. Who cares? You know?
And we want to find those pieces of information collaboratively because it's faster.
Yes.
Okay.
And you get more information.
So what does it look like then to structure those things in?
What does it look like to structure in the stuff from the work back plan? Yeah, well, you work it all the way back to the very first thing, right? What would be the first thing that you have to do? And maybe for you, you work it back to the first thing is you have to get up every morning by 8 a.m. or whatever that is, right? Set that alarm, get up. Maybe it, whatever it is that you have to get going at that time. And that becomes a win. When you wake up that day at 8 a.m., check that off as a win. You had a success in getting up at 8 a.m. You know, it could be that you need to get up every morning and do this thing. It could be that you need to check your email. You need to look at your to-do list for the day or make your to-do list for the day. It could be whatever that is. That's a success. That's a taking of an action. It's the taking of an action because the more, and they talk about this like in psychology, okay? They talk about this in like interrogation tactics, body language people, right? You want to get the yes. You want to put people in a yes mindset, right?
You are
So
people, y'all.
right,
Just
you are
saying.
people, so you can get yourself in your own yes mindset to yourself, right? So when you can say, I did this, yes, right? And I did this, yes, right? You're building up your own um and and so you really have to do that for yourself, even though those are small things. You might think, well, that's it. Don't get in the right mindset. Build the yes success mindset for yourself because it works. Like, I mean, you know, it works.
Okay. So we're cultivating small daily habits. We're
Mhm,
celebrating our wins.
mhm.
What does it look like to create milestones for momentum?
Well, honestly, that work back plan, those are your milestones, really, right? As you check off each thing to reach that spot, that work back plan, those are all of your milestones, right? Um, anything, and then anything that you can build on, right? So a lot of these little successes might be more individual successes, but the more of those individual successes that you have, the more of them will start to connect back to other things, right? So maybe the first thing, for example, is getting up at 8 a.m. every day or 7 a.m. or whatever that thing is, right? And you're getting up
Not
every
on
day.
your life, but just
Right,
just
just
right.
something, like whatever that thing is. And so now you're getting up every day. But maybe even though you have that success, you really need to connect that back to, okay, now I'm up, I need to be functioning, right? I need to be productive now that I'm up. And maybe the productivity doesn't come right away. You're doing some of the other things and you're getting those yeses. And then as you start to build that sort of yes success for yourself with those little wins every day, now you start to build up your own confidence in your ability and your own confidence in yourself. And then you can take that and then you start being productive, right? Because you've gotten up at 8 a.m. and now you're adding the productivity on top of that, right? So now you're building upon it. And that's really what the goal here is with momentum. It's building off of each of the successes. I mean, when you think of things like being a kid on a swing, right? When you first get started on that swing, you really got to pump. You got to pump those legs, like you got to move your body. You got to really get it going, right? You got to work it. But eventually, the momentum, your mass, and the velocity, now it's taking you away, and you can relax your body a little bit, right? You can relax into it, and you still got to do a little bit of pumping with the legs, but it's nowhere near as strenuous as it was when you first started to try to get that going. So those first few are going to feel a lot more challenging, but once you build off of the other things, it gets easier. Like that's the magic of momentum, right? Because we talk a lot about things like burnout. We talk a lot about running in circles and starting over and all of these things that are freaking exhausting. But momentum is one of those things that it takes hard work to get it going. But once it's going, you get relief. And that's one of the things that I really love about momentum is it gets easier, not harder. You don't have to work harder once you've started to gain the momentum.
Right. And I think a lot of the problem is that the initial getting started is so hard that
Mhm.
we give up because that's just human nature.
Mhm.
So, this is the part where you really buy into the tactics that make things work for you. One of my goals this year, personally, start taking a little bit better care of the meat sack. Right? Like so many things. I'm 42 years old and the body is feeling it and I got to do something about it. I've mentioned before many times my Achilles heel is exercise. So, I've spent a lot of time this winter finding things that I will enjoy doing. And I haven't done them yet. Like, let's be clear. This has all been the abstract of what is it that once I start, I will be able to do with less effort. And sometimes it takes a while to identify those things. But I think that it makes starting easier.
Hmm. And find stuff that you will have some level of enjoyment in. So I also have the same goal of working on the meat sack. And let me tell you, I have put off exercising and doing any form of anything for a lot of freaking years, y'all. And I only just started doing stuff like maybe in like January, February. And I'm already like down a couple sizes in my clothes. I have more energy. I feel better. And I'm doing it for me in ways that are fun. The first way is that I'm playing with my kids more, right? Family time. They love basketball. They love football. They love all of these. I don't know how to play any of these games, by the way. I'm terrible at them, but I play basketball. And when I make shots, my kids are really excited and happy for me and they're proud of me, yay, mom, you did it. Right. But then we have a good time and my kids are like, thanks, mom, this was great. And then that makes me feel good. Am I tired? Does my body hurt a little bit sometimes? I'm like, yes. And now I got to go shower and wash my hair again because I'm all sweaty. That's annoying. Don't like it. But I love the feeling of having fun with my kids. For me, that's the thing that has started to get me active and help me build that momentum is because there is a feel good piece of it for me, right? If it was just my body hurting and sweating and working on my meat sack, I might be like, I'll do that later. Right. But so you find that thing that you can find the joy in. So you can focus on the joy part of it.
Hmm. For me, it's dancing with my 11-year-old
No.
because, and we found Body Groove. It's really lovely. They have adaptations for a lot of levels of ability, and we just turn it on the TV and stomp around and make a lot of noise, and it's delightful. And then my oldest and youngest are, as soon as the weather gets consistently warm, walking. But for me, that is accompanied by Zombies Run. And if y'all aren't familiar with Zombies Run, both zombies and running are completely optional. But it's story-based movement. Like, I like it because I get to hear a new chapter of a story that is interesting to me. And I have to move to get it. Like that's the gamification that works for me. I have to
Right.
get off my ass to get this next chapter in a story that I really want to hear about is
That's smart.
something that works for me. So find those little things and then you start incorporating them. Not every day. I mean, you can't. So let's talk. Are you familiar with the X effect, the Jerry Seinfeld, don't drop the chain? No? Okay.
No, go ahead.
So Jerry Seinfeld has that his whole like ritual routine is based off of index cards that he would just mark X's for the calendar days. And the idea was that you don't lose a day. You make an X every single day that you did this one thing. For Jerry, it was write a joke, right? And I think that there's value in it, but only if you like it. If that doesn't work for you, how do you work something in as meaningful but also not a requirement? I think a lot of us balk at the idea of pathological demand avoidance over here. Don't tell me what to do. Even I
Thank
don't get to
you.
tell me what to do.
Even right, like nobody tells me what to do, not even me.
That's correct. So how do you work it in?
Just for me, I'm a random ass person. Like for me, I know I'm doing like the first part is the mindset piece, right? For me, I'm doing it no matter what. And I'm doing it like I also not only do I play with my kids, but my son got a VR headset for Christmas and I use that. There's a workout app in there that I bought and it's fun. I love it. Combines my favorite music with some fun stuff. And so I know I'm doing that 3 times a week. I don't care when, but because I'm feeling better, because I've started to build momentum playing with my kids. And that's because they say, hey, mom, come play with me. Right. So I'm like, okay. And I say, what do I say? Yes. I have the yes mindset. Yes, kids, I will play with you. And so we go play. So I'm lucky because mine are attached to other people saying, hey, come do this. But because I'm building that momentum and I have more energy and I feel good, I also then could say, okay, the week, what's my week looking like? I kind of give myself, okay, maybe like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's where I'm going this week. And if that doesn't work out, I don't stress about it. I do sometimes I only do it 2 days a week because I just didn't fit in the third time, but I never feel bad about it. Not ever, because I'm like, I'm feeling good. It's all good. I'll get 3
Because
times next week.
momentum requires that yes. You have to buy into the idea that any progress is good progress.
Any progress.
So I think the issue here, especially for a lot of our people, is that progress and consistency have been so closely linked.
Elusive.
Right. And I don't think that they're the same thing.
No.
And I don't think that consistency is a requirement. Like, I've done a lot of things in my life in fits and spurts and starts
Well,
that
let's
have
see.
gotten me to where I needed to go.
Okay. But here's the thing about consistency. How are we defining it? How are we defining consistently? Because I tell you what, if every year for the last 20 years on New Year's Day, you made a resolution, you very consistently make a resolution every New Year's. That's one time a freaking year, but that's consistent, isn't it? Right? So, how are you defining consistency? Are you defining consistency something you have to do every second of every day, every minute, every 30 minutes, every hour, once a day, twice a day? Like, what are you defining this consistency as? Because you can still feel consistent I'm consistently moving towards taking care of my needs. No, but am I consistently doing it at least on a fairly regular basis to where I'm feeling better? Yeah. So maybe redefine consistency for yourself in a way that feels good for you, because then maybe you can feel the consistency to help you build that momentum.
And I think the issue here is that consistency gets tied into productivity when
Mm,
that is false equivalency, right? Your productivity has nothing to do with your baseline level of consistency. You get to decide what consistency means to you. Productivity is a metric created 150 years ago that does not apply to your life much in any way at all. And I think overcoming the mental blocks, go listen to my whole first season with Biba, y'all. There's a bunch of stuff in there. What does it look like to build momentum while not feeling like you're getting anywhere?
building momentum without feeling like you're getting anywhere.
Because it's that early stage of pumping, right? You're
Yes.
not going
Yeah.
anywhere, but you still got to be consistently doing those things as you have defined consistency.
Yeah. I mean, God, I was going to say something that sounds terrible. Um, you know, enjoy the pain of it, I guess. And like use that sort of that, oh, this is hard. This is like, whoo, is this going to pay off? Is this going to do as um as your yes metric? Like, yes, thing right now. Yes. I'm not like, this is going to go somewhere. Like, this is the foundation of my momentum. I'm pumping it. If you've got the sweat working up, that is part of momentum. That is yes, right? That is yes. I feel, enjoy that part of it.
And I think the reason that we don't is because we have social media accelerates this, but this has always been the way. We glamorize the end product and not the process.
Nope.
So you really have to find ways to appreciate process. And what that looks like for you will depend.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point because, again, that's what happens when stuff becomes trendy, right? It became trendy to, you know, make everything sound fluffy and fabulous, right? And amazing. Everything's unicorn and sparkles and rainbows. And this is, I did it, you can do it too. While not talking about all of the dirty, ugly, hard truths that go along with it. And, and they're dirty and they're ugly and they're hard, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Right. Like, but because for so long we spent so much time hiding those things, it then started to feel like hard and ugly and and challenges. It's life. You have to deal with it. It's life. And there's ways to deal with it. but we've spent a lot of time pushing that down and hiding it away and not talking about it. So most of us don't know how to deal with it.
And I think that the way through here is finding a process that you enjoy the finished product of, and then learning about the ugly stuff. For me, a lot of this is movies, film, right? Big millions of dollars to get to this finished product of, Tom Cruise jumping a motorcycle off the side of a mountain, right? Doing his own goddamn stunts. But what does that look like behind the scenes? And once you know, right, how the story is told, how they make the sausage, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? It generally, I find, doesn't change the magic, just changes my awareness of it, right?
Mhm.
I can go to a movie, I can see what they're recording or what the finished product is, while also in my head knowing, oh, that's all green screen here. That was actually really well done for being in a green screen, and nobody saw anything that was going on in this sequence.
Yeah, and for me, it makes it even more magical.
Right.
Like, look how cool. Like, we know they had to do this and this and this to get that, and you can't, like, wow. Wow. Yes.
And I think that it's beneficial to know about your process, definitely. As you are making something, please go and investigate the hidden underbelly and stories of people who have done this thing before you. I am for years have been fascinated by like the a day in a life profiles of people, because I just want to understand how they're doing this life thing in a way that has eluded me for so many decades, right? I just want to understand how they're adulting. I don't get it. Turns out nobody else does either, right? You're just kind of
You're just there.
everybody's day in a life is a day in the life and what works for them. So when you are working back your own process to develop your own momentum, you're finding the ways to make this work for you so that you can create that momentum as you go forward. Let's talk about what happens when that happens, Alice, because sometimes we do all this work of building our way there, and then we get there and we are overwhelmed by, oh shit, the wheel is turning. Uh-oh, is that me? Is that you? Could be me.
Okay.
Could be. Oh,
How did that?
hey,
Okay.
we have arrived.
Technology.
It's delightful.
Thank
Okay.
you.
What happens when you get there and the wheel is turning and everything is working? Because that's overwhelming for a lot of people.
It is. It is. Well, I mean, part of your process, part of the journey that you're going to be on as you're building momentum towards whatever these goals that you have are in your life and business is getting that yes mindset for yourself, building that up, getting that yes success, right? And building yourself up that you freaking worked and earned it and deserve it. Because I mean, maybe everybody has a different reason for not for getting there and feeling like, I'm done with this, right? Like, so you could just be burnt out on that thing. Hello, ADHD, hyper focus. Like, I'm onto a new thing. I'm like, let me come over here now. Like, oh wait, squirrel. Like this okay. But I like to remind myself, if this goal is important to me, if this is something that like I really want, and I do have a couple of those goals, and when I find myself getting distracted and running off and doing other things, I always come back to it and ask myself, why am I running away from this thing? Right? Like I have to have that conversation to myself. Why am I tired of this thing? Do I need a break? Is it still important to me? Because trust me when I tell you, these three main goals that I have, they're always freaking important to me. They always will be. They're my future, right? And that's just the bottom line. And I know that deep in my every cell of my body, I know that. So, but I do find myself veering off of it very often. So I just have to give myself space and grace sometimes. Sometimes I say, okay, you know what, Alice, go off and diddle on this thing for a little bit and and then let it go and then come back. And that's okay. I give myself the space and grace to do that. And I also give myself the space and grace to constantly, and this is something that Bipa would be really great at because I know she's got her affirmations journal. But you really do have to. Let me tell you, I have a couple of songs. I have a playlist for myself that's all about me being. I'm on fire, right? Like I'm the best. Ain't nobody better than me, right? I have that playlist for myself, and I play it when I'm in the shower every chance I get, just to be like, that's right, I'm amazing, right? And fill myself up so that I know I deserve it, because sometimes, we maybe don't feel worthy of what we're trying to achieve, and we are all worthy. We are all worthy.
And momentum it's really interesting because I think there is an inclination once that flywheel picks up speed to slam the brakes on it. Like, oh shit, I didn't actually mean to do this, but you did. So, how do we support, in addition to affirmations and doing those things, how do you support yourself through momentum changes?
Well, I mean, yes, acknowledge that there are going to be some momentum changes, and try not to overthink it. Like that's a problem. I'm an overthinker. I have so many stories happening in my head, even right this moment while we're having this conversation. There are all kinds of zombie stories and other stories happening inside of this rat's nest of a brain that I have. So calm down the stories. But one of the things that I would say that's been helpful for me, and Briar, I'd like to know what's been helpful for you, is community of people that I have chosen these people, and also these people have chosen me. I mean, we're just each other's people. Like there's no doubt about it. That can really help me with that because, they give a lot of space and um a lot of love and a lot of support in, whatever it is I'm going through. Because the last thing that you want is to be around anybody that's going to say, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. It's too much. It's too hard. It's too this. Or anybody that's going to put you down or what you're trying to do down in any way, shape, or form. Get the heck away from those people. Like, get away from them. Nobody needs that negative ninnies in their life. Okay. We don't need it. We don't want it. Bye, Felicia. Like, that's what you say to those people because no, thank you. But get that
Because
community.
momentum is not built with no's, not just your own yeses matter, but everyone around you's yeses matter. Clearly, this episode is sponsored by The Catalyst, where Alice and I have both built community. Part of the issue is that you have to find these places first. Like, you need people who will call you on your shit before you get to a
but
place.
in the most loving possible
That's
way.
Correct. That's correct. But you have to have those communities, situations, environments in place. I look at people who are often very public when they are going through hard things and always think, girl, where is your group chat?
Mm-hmm.
Define what support looks like for you. Define ahead of time when this happens, because this is what I am building. What am I going to need to support myself through that? And again, this answer is different for everybody, but knowing ahead of time what that's going to look like for you allows you to foundationally put it in place before you get there.
Yep. Yeah.
I think too,
because also the thing that I want to say about that is that if you don't do that, if you don't foundationally have some of those things at least in place that you've already defined for yourself, right? Then in the moment, as this momentum is starting to gain momentum and you start control, you may not be in the right headspace decisions for yourself. And I'm going to tell you how detrimental it can be to be hooked up in the wrong community with the wrong people, and how you need to trust the people to support you in the way that you need to be supported, because the wrong support, the wrong people, that can wreck your shit. Been there, done that.
Right. And based on how you feel, when you take your big ideas to them and how they respond. My husband is my biggest fan, but I do not take money ideas to him first. Not because he'll shoot me down, but because he will ask me all of the questions that I am not in any way prepared or ready to answer yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need somebody to build me up first and be like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing, Briar, so that I can build the plan in my brain first. And then I'll take it to my husband, who will poke all the holes in it. But you need to know what those things are, how you define them, and how you approach those people. Like, for real, 20 plus years now, he's been poking holes in my shit, and I am profoundly grateful for it, because I need somebody to take my ideas and go, okay, that's amazing. And have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you done this yet? Well, fuck, no, I haven't done any of that shit yet. God damn it. Now I have to go and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if I take it to him when they're new with that stuff,
deflating.
It's very deflating, right? I need to take it to my people. Usually it's the Catalyst, where I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. And they're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I want to do this thing with you too. Great. Then we build it and flesh it out a little bit. And then I get
no matter what, I go in the Catalyst and be like, okay, I'm taking over the universe today. Who wants to come with me? And
we're
everybody's
all coming
like,
with you.
hell yeah, let's do
it.
Does not matter. I'd be like, I'm going to become a hula dancer. Let's do it. Let's Google these YouTube videos. I have people texting me, so like, it does not matter what you tell them. That is dang support.
Right. And again, defining your support and how it's presented to you matters, because while my husband is very contrarian, again, it's in a supportive environment.
Mm-hmm.
I take it to him knowing that he's going to poke holes in it because he values the idea and wants to see it succeed. So you have to really kind of figure out where those boundaries and what the limitations are for support, because not everybody can be all of the kinds of support that you need. For example, I don't ask Alice to poke holes in things. That's not what I'm looking for. Build up support
Right.
there.
I'm not very good at poking holes, so
No.
it's not.
So let's wrap this up, I think, with some of the myths around momentum. What are things that people believe about momentum that aren't true?
That it just, they believe that it just happens. Right? They believe, oh, I'm going to do this thing, and that means I'm going to build momentum. Or another one of my favorite things, which I mean, that tends to be a big thing online. Like, I posted one thing and nothing happened, so I can't get any momentum going. And I did one thing one time, or I did one thing two times. Like that, like, again, momentum, you got to get that pump action going. You really got to work it. You got to put your whole body into it to get that swing going. Like, you got to do it. If you're breaking a sweat, if your body hurts, then you're in it. And then you got to build on that. Now, the other part of momentum, I think, that gets all mixed up in people's head is that sort of generic view of what momentum is, right? Or how long it takes to build momentum, or, there is no set time. Again, it's forward movement, progress, right? Progress, any progress. Sometimes you can be building momentum very, very slowly, like so very slowly, but you're still working towards it, right? So for you, maybe like my mom, she's got a bad back. She's had 10 back surgeries. Okay. Okay, she's full of nuts and bolts. Um, and like, for her, she can't get on that swing and really put her back into it because she got no back left. Okay. So she's got to maybe work with the feet alone, and it's a little bit slower of a process for her to get the momentum. But any forward motion is on your way to building momentum, no matter how small. People think momentum, like it's a big word, right? It feels powerful, and it feels like momentum needs this great big giant, like, boom, here we are action, but it doesn't. Momentum doesn't need that. For everybody, that beginning, those steps looks a little bit different for everyone. Any forward motion, build that yes success mindset for yourself with any forward motion. No negative self-talk on that, because it's different for everybody.
One of my favorite stories here is how long it took J.R.R. Tolkien to write The Hobbit.
Whew.
And would that I could have been a member of that writers club where you're meeting up with C.S. Lewis every day and going, my work is shit. But that's exactly what happened. For years and years, he toiled on that book. And really, it took consistent, steady momentum to write this thing that once he'd finished and published, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, by comparison, took half the time.
Yep.
It took those initial starts to figure out how to write, how to, and to be clear here, I realize I'm probably going to get nasty letters when I say this, because much as I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, actually The Hobbit is my favorite book. I think there's something about it that's really magical in the way that it is written as that first freshman effort starter novel, right? There's just something magical about it. The Lord of the Rings is the epic behind it, but it's that start that's so special. So really, I feel like you get to go at your own speed. You get to determine what momentum feels like and means to you. And then you get to go forth and put it out in the world.
Yep. And that's the thing. You do have to put it out in the world.
Oh.
And we will be talking, just so you know, we will be talking more about some of the myths as we go throughout here. We'll talk about the tracking. We'll talk about expectations. Like, we'll talk about some of that stuff, which will also help you, you know, really get a connection with yourself and momentum, and finding your momentum, right? Your momentum your way.
And I think that's exactly where we leave it, y'all. Your momentum your way. So I'm really looking forward to this series. We've got 3 episodes planned to wrap this one out. Yeah,
Sure.
okay. And we will be back next time is tracking what you have planned for the
I
next
think
one.
so. Yeah, we can talk tracking.
Okay. So it'll be a little dry.
It'll be, we could probably put in a combo of like the planning and the tracking.
Okay, great.
Kind of a little bit of that. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, y'all. This has been fantastic. Next time, we'll be talking about planning, tracking, building your momentum, seeing it on paper, because that's important. You got to be able to see it to understand what you're building.
Mm-hmm.
And we deeply appreciate your support here at the Neurodiversity Media Network. This is what we're building. These kinds of programs where you get to really feel like your understanding is developing through the series. I want you to get more than surface level knowledge of a topic. TikTok is amazing, and you can only learn so much in 3 minutes. So we will be back here to wrap this out next time. If you are interested in joining us, please find us at neurodiversitymedianetwork.com. If you would like to join Alice and I personally in community, we welcome you to do so. My affiliate link for that is briarharvey.com/catalyst. We would love to have you. And we will see you all next time. Thanks for being here. Bye now.
Bye for now.